Hi, my name is Loretta Hayes, and I am from Hayes Sewing Machine Company in Wilmington, Delaware. And welcome back to our creative videos. Today we're going to do a really sweet little bag that is called Delightful Dreams. And it has kind of beautiful stripes at the bottom.
It's lovely.
And this really colorful fabric on the top. The fabric for this has a little backstory. It was designed by a 13-year-old designer named Josie, who has since passed away from cancer. She has a panel and she has a lovely line of fabrics. So a lot of the fabrics that are printed in the panel are printed as yardage as well. But super happy, fun fabric. And so what Benartex has been doing is they are donating 50% of the profits of all of Josie fabric sales is going to Quilts for Kids, which provides quilts for cancer victims, particularly children, on there. So not only a beautiful bag, but also a beautiful backstory and just a really nice legacy for this young designer. So we're going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to do this bag with two machines today. Of course, you can do it entirely with your regular sewing machine. But we're going to go ahead and for the bag construction, we're going to use the serger. And so I'll have Pam swing around and we'll do that first. So this panel is such an easy panel that when you cut it out, it has the notches cut for the square bottom. And so literally we are just going to fold the fabric in half, and I am going to go ahead and serge. Pam's like, I just got the camera set up, Loretta. Stop moving things. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna serge down the seam. And so the advantage of using a serger is I'm getting two seams because I'm using 4 threads. And I'm also going to get my overcasting done at the same time. And of course, it's quick and easy. So we're just gonna line up the edges, do a little bit of trim. So I'm trimming just the hairiest amount off just to kind of clean up the edges. And then we're going to flip her over and we're going to do the same thing on the other side. So if you were doing this on your regular sewing machine, then I would sew the seam and then I would probably do some sort of zigzag, whether it be a traditional zigzag or maybe a 3-step zigzag where it does the little stitches across. Way if we wash our bags, we're not going to get a little rat's nest. All right, so now we have the sides done, and really what we need to do is we need to do the bottom. So this is what the bottom looks like right now. We don't want to sew that. Number one, it would be difficult to do on the serger, but we want to have kind of that 3-dimensionality to the bag. So we're going to grab a hold of the inside corners and we're gonna pull it forward, and what they've done on the panel, which is super cool,
nice,
is they've put a little dot. So we are gonna line up the seam with that little dot, which will divide us exactly in half, and then we will go ahead and stitch across that. And so we'll pick that up. I just wanna make sure we get that seam flattened out a little bit. And then we'll go ahead and we'll do the same thing on the other side. So line the seam up with the dot, and we're just going to go ahead and serge across that. And if I could take this little tail and stick it out on the side, that'll get trimmed up as we go. So once I've got this bag done, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of fray check dab a little bit of fray check on the front and the back, and that's going to seal those ends, and then we will be set and ready to go. So I'm going to shift this serger, and then we will do the rest of this on our sewing machine. All right, so the next thing that we need to do on the actual bag is the top. So the directions for the bag is to press under 1/4 of an inch and then press 2 inches down to create our hem. So I'm going to go ahead and press that. I don't know if you want to come over, Pam.
Sure. I'll be so lonely if I don't.
Oh. So we're going to press around the top under 1/4 of an inch. And you could certainly get your ruler out if you wanted to measure this. If you come from a quilting background, you probably could just press 1/4 of an inch because you're so used to looking at one. And really what we're trying to do is get that edge that would possibly fray, get that tucked underneath so it's not going to be on the inside of the bag. So we'll press all the way around. And I like this panel. It's a really generous sized bag. A lot of panels, we have a lot of different panels for doing our different types of bags, but this seems to be the biggest I've seen. All right, so now we're gonna take it, and Pam's she's seeing me fiddle a little bit. Can I eyeball?
I'm sure
You can just give me a rotary ruler. All right, so we're gonna come in, we're gonna take it, and we're gonna do it at 2 inches.
Look at you, you actually had it.
I did, look at that. And we'll press that. But I like the ruler with the guide. Just double checks, make sure we're consistent. All right, so we now have our hem done. So we're gonna hop on over to the sewing machine. And we're gonna stitch around the bottom of our hem. So I have a 1/4 inch foot on my Bernina. This is a 97 foot. And so one of the cool things on a 97 foot is the inside edge, which we're going to use a little bit later for top stitching the handles, is an 1/8 of an inch in, 1/4 of an inch being on the outside. And then there's a little line etched right in the side of the foot, which is exactly an 1/8 of an inch in. I'm having troubles with fractions this morning. All right, so there's the 1/4, but there's the 1/8. Most people, when they have their 1/4 inch foot on, they're like, oh, okay, you know, I have my 1/4 inch foot. It's all about the 1/4 inch. But there's other markings on there that are really quite helpful. All right, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to top stitch, and we're just running the edge of that fold that we pressed, running right along that line. guess I risked it when I didn't pin it here, Pam, but I think we can make this work.
That's only a side.
Yes.
Never ever seen.
We'll do a little tuck there and it'll be okay. All right, getting back into place here. And we'll just pull that flat so we don't get a tuck on the other end. Need our stitches, do a few stitches in place, and then we are set to go. And so I'm going to just hit this with a quick press to flatten that baby out. And so we have our bag really all set. So if we come down here to the bottom, we can take those out
That's
there.
a nice depth.
But it's,
to it.
yeah, it's got a nice size to it. I like it. All right, so we're gonna go ahead and set this off to the side for just a moment, and we're gonna work on our handles. On the handles, they request that you put interfacing on the handle to give it a little bit of body. I chose a SF 101, which is now available in a 60 width, 60 width, as opposed to kind of the typical 20. And so what's super nice about that is literally I just had to cut one strip and just chop it to length for the two handles. So for this particular handle, we're going to go ahead and we're going to, we've fused it, the interfacing on the back. You may not be able to see it because it's white. And we're going to fold this in half, and we are going to stitch from one end to the opening that they have marked on the panel. So we'll fold that in half. We're going to do a 1/4 inch seam, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to run that raw edge on the outside of our presser foot for the 1/4 inch. So we'll come in, go ahead and put our needle in and turn our edge. Where the opening is, where we're going to flip it from. And just a little trick, like oftentimes if we just kind of stop at that point when we flip it around, it's always just a little wonky where our opening is. So just a little trick to know is if you sink your needle down and then you pivot and you sew out at 90 degrees, it will give you a much cleaner flip. It also anchors it so that when you're tugging and pulling, you're not likely to pull those stitches out. So we'll go ahead and go to the other end of our handle. And we'll start our 1/4 inch, go to the corner. And we're sewing again to the opening. When we get to our opening, we'll sink our needle, we'll pivot and sew off the end, which then gives us our opening. All right, so now we need to flip this bad boy around. So he's stiff with interfacing, so you probably want to have some sort of tool. And so this tool here is done by Annie's. Oh, no, excuse me. It is done by Dritz, and it is what they refer to as a quick turn. It comes in 2 different tube sizes. So when we are working with it, you have,
Comes in
comes
three.
with 3 different tube sizes. So you're going to have the middle size, which is for 3/8 to 3/4 inch fabrics. And then there is a very, very skinny one for like a spaghetti strap, that kind of thing. And then the one that we are going to use is for 1 inch or larger fabric tubes. So what we're going to do is we're going to take the purple tube and we're going to place that into the strap. Push it all the way up to the end. And then we're going to take our stick and we're going to push down on that. And just push down to there. Now, we don't have to push the whole tube through. See, it's not coming out the other end here. You can literally just take it, flip it around, grab your tube, and voila, it's like magic.
Ta-da!
So we're going to go ahead and we're going to put our tube the other end. And what I like about this technique is because we sewed across the end of the handle is going to be nice and neat at the end. So I don't have to flip up any hems on the end of the handle. We're going to have that all ready to go. So we've flipped it. We now need to take it. We're going to take the pointy end of the stick and we're going to flip that around and poke those corners out so we have a nice neat end for our handle to be top stitched on. All right, and so we have our corners taken out there, and so what I'm going to do is I'm going to just hop over and press it. Pam, you can just hang out if you'd like. Nothing exotic here. And so you can see where we had that opening, the corners have lined up really, really nicely. All right, so now we want to take it and we want to top stitch it. So we're going to go ahead and do our 1/8 of an inch, and this time we're going to be running right along the inside edge of the right toe to create that 1/8 of an inch. Or maybe we are. Just hooked up on my feed dogs a little bit. There we go. And it would have helped if I'd lengthened up my stitch length a little bit there. So I'm 2.5 is normal for sewing a seam. That's what I did for the handle. And so for top stitching, I'm usually at 3 to 3.5, somewhere in that range. Take one more stitch. And you've got a little bit of bulk on those corners because of the interfacing. So if you've got your stiletto handy, that can sometimes be a helping hand. are complete. So now we have our handle, and it's completely finished on all edges, which is fabulous. All right, so the last thing that we need to do is we need to attach our handle to our bag. And cleverly enough, I don't know if you can see it in the camera, Pam, but there are 6 dots, 3 on either side, that are going to help us line that
And it's
handle
nice. They're
up.
not screamingly obvious.
No. So like if you had chosen to do your handle maybe a more traditional method where you cut the fabric 4 inches, fold it in half, press the crease, and then fold the raw edges to the crease, which will give you a 1-inch handle
Instead of the
wider handle. You could still attach this on without any issue, and you wouldn't notice those dots really. All right, so it's super important that we attach the handle. One handle gets attached to one side of the bag. So in other words, we're not putting it like this. We're putting it like this.
I have actually done that inadvertently. I'm like, what's wrong with this bag?
It doesn't hold anything really well. All right, so we're gonna just go ahead and throw a little pin in there to hold on to that. And we're gonna do a quick double check because nothing is like sewing a box on a handle and then finding that you have to pull it out. So the trick for handles to make sure they're not twisted is you start on the inside of the handle, you follow the edge up, you come back, and you should be on the inside edge of the handle.
Yep.
Okay, so we'll go ahead and stitch this one on. And we'll start in the corner. And on the bottom of the handle, I'm just trying to kind of follow the stitching line. We'll flip it around and follow the stitching line for the handle going up. And then we're going to stitch across the top. And we'll come down. Now, if you wanted to, you could put an X in there, so you could stitch the X. So if we do an X, we could come in, pivot, and sew to the corner. And for me, it probably makes sense to go ahead and put an X in there because I'm always shoving more stuff in my bag than my bag is designed to do. And so we'll stitch that across. Just a little back tack at the end, and we've got our handle on. So we will pause for a second and I'll stitch the other 3 on and we'll be right back. And so we are back, our handles are completed, and our bag is completed. So this bag, when it's finished, is 16 inches wide by 15.5 by 5 in depth. So a really generous bag can carry lots of your beautiful stuff in it. So I hope you enjoyed this, and we will see you next time.